Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech Odyssey. So today I'm here with my kind of 1.5 week review of the iPhone XS Max. So normally I like to do a week review, but life has been kind of hectic the last week, long work week. So now I'm sitting down and I'm able to express my thoughts and my feelings towards this $1,099 phone. So the first question is it worth it? And it's a very difficult question to ask. Technically, I would say that it's probably not worth it. But when you're using it, kind of feels like it's worth it. And I hate to say that because I've been a very staunch, I can't say advocate, but very much against spending that much money on a phone because really it's a significant investment. I mean, you can get a really nice laptop, even an Apple laptop, for about the same price. But I understand, and me also use my phone primarily so much more than my computer. It's pretty much an extension of your day-to-day life. And if you want to believe whatever Apple's trying to peddle with, it's only like $1 a day. Well, yeah, I mean, you might spend $3 on a cup of coffee a day. I mean, you might spend, $5 eating out at lunch, but I don't really believe you should be factoring in the price tag of a phone into your day-to-day allowance expenses. But here we are, and this is the iPhone XS Max in all of its beautiful glory. Now, it comes in 3 different colors. It comes in the gold color. It comes in this silver color, which really is more white. It's kind of like a silverishy white, and then it's got the glass back, so it kind of accents that. And then, of course, it's silver on the sides. And then you have the space gray model. It comes in 64 gigabytes of storage baseline, which is all of their new phones. And then you've got the 256, which bumps up the price to $1,249. And then if you want the whopping 512 gigabytes, you're going to pay $1,449, which I am 100% wholeheartedly against. Just pay for the Apple storage. I pay, I think it's $1.99 a month for like an extra 50 gigabytes. Now, that's one downside, and one negative I really have to say about Apple is I really wish they'd find some way to incorporate SD cards in there, but then they couldn't charge you $400 for 512 gigabytes of storage. And you can pick up a 256 SD card for like 35, 40 bucks now, I think. So that's one area that I think Android is still winning. But having built-in internal storage is, of course, seamless, and it's the ideal way to have your storage set up because everything works so well. Now, I'm going to run down the specs a little bit. So this has a new A12 Bionic Processor, which is 7 nanometers, which is insanely thin. And one thing about processors that you want to know is that when they talk about the nanometers and the thickness of the processor, the more condensed the processor is, the thinner it is, the more powerful it is, and the more it can do because it's not having to transfer all the electricity and all the everything else around inside of it. So the thinner the processor, the better. Well, the next best thing in the Android world, which is the Snapdragon 845, which is in the flagship Android series, is 10 nanometers. So somehow or another, Apple is light years ahead of the competition when it comes to processor design. It has dual 12 megapixel cameras. One of them has phase detection. Actually, they both have phase detection, autofocus. They both have optical image stabilization in them. One of them is a wide lens. The other one is a telephoto lens with 2 times optical zoom, which is really nice because you can zoom in on the pictures you want to take, and it gives you that full clarity. It's not getting pixelated. It has quad LED, so you can get that natural tone whenever you want to take pictures. It does 4K video at 60 frames per second, 1080p up to 240 frames per second. It's HDR. It's got a 7 megapixel front-facing camera, which is And if you buy into the Beautygate thing with the way it kind of smooths the pictures out whenever you take them, I think there is some merit to that. I don't really take selfies. I don't care that much about my face or sharing it with the rest of the world, but there are people who do. So if you want to have a really pretty looking face and they don't fix it or it's something built into the software, then your face may look a little bit smoother. It does have stereo sound. It has the speakers in the bottom that produce sound, and then of course out of the earpiece as well. And the sound on this is really good. I've been very, very happy with the sound. And it has 4 gigabytes of RAM, and then it has a 3,174 milliamp battery. Now, what does all that mean? Well, it's the largest battery, I believe, that's ever been put into an iPhone. This is the largest screen. It's 6.5 inches. It's full OLED. It's not AMOLED. It's not Super AMOLED. It's OLED, which is the best and the brightest in the business. And it's full edge to edge. And the way they're able to accomplish that without having the extra chin on the bottom or the top is the OLED screen kind of overlaps over itself so that you can get it stretched all the way out to the edges, which I'm told it does increase the price a little bit, more so than Apple already increases the price, which is always one of my hangups with them. But as far as the outside goes, you still got your volume buttons, you got your mute switch, which I love and I wish other Android phones would incorporate. Power button over here, SIM tray, and then you've got your speakers on the bottom with the lightning charging port. I do have a glass screen protector on here. I got it from actually from Best Buy. It's an Insignia one. I don't really like to plug other products when I'm doing this stuff, but I did pick it up for $12.99, and it's one of the best screen protectors I've had in a long time. And it comes with a tray so you can install it. So anyone can install it, super simple, easy, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So Face ID works like a champ. Now, I had a lot of hangups. I actually got rid of my original iPhone 10 because I hated Face ID so much. Not only because I didn't like the fact that there was a fingerprint sensor was gone, but because Apple was making me use their new technology. Well, I can say with absolute certainty that I'm much more on board with Face ID. I don't know if I just kind of got used to it from the last time, so now I use it this time and it's even better. It works really good, and it angles that you wouldn't even believe. So it doesn't have to be, okay, just stare straight at it. I can have this thing on the ground over here, and it's like I'm way back here and you can't even see me, and I'm unlocking it. So the face detection is really good, and the incorporation for the software works well. One thing I still really hate, and of course iOS 12 is really good. iOS 11 I hated so much. So between iOS 11, all the bugs and the gimmicks and the garbage, it was just a mess. But now that they've got everything all on the same page, because apparently programming for multiple platforms with one OS escapes them, they finally have it fine-tuned and it works really well. They have changed things up a little bit. The font seems a little bit different. Of course, the icons up there are very prominent. I don't know if it's just because the screen is so big, but it feels really clean and refined and polished. And that was one of the concerns I had coming back to iOS, because last time I used it, I was less than impressed with it. And I used it on the iPhone 10, I used it on the 7 Plus, and I used it also on the iPhone 8 in 2 different versions. So I used it a lot, and I didn't like it a lot. So that had me using just Android for a while. But I was drawn back in with this beautiful, gigantic screen, and I like it a lot. And I hate saying that. It really pains me. But if you're an iPhone fan, you'll love it. If you're not an iPhone fan, you'll probably still love it. The only thing there's not really to love about it is the price tag. But it runs very fluid. It's seamless. The swipe gestures, they're better than before. One nice thing that you'll find with this one, so I'll go ahead and pull up a couple of things here. If I can, pull up the health app, pull up the Facebook. So swiping up and over, you can get to these different apps, and instead of having to hold it down or press the checkbox, everything's so seamless now. You just flick up and you're good to go, and you can close everything out. The camera, I'm not going to show off the camera. The camera takes good pictures. It takes really good pictures. I think I was reading the DxO score. If you buy into those, is 105. It was like 109 for the pictures, I think, and the video quality was like 101, or maybe that's reversed. But it averaged out to 105, which is good. And it's better than most cameras that are out there. I've read that it still doesn't beat the Pixel 2, which the Pixel 2 just has such an amazing camera. And they do so much with so little. You know, iPhone and everyone else throws so much at it. This whole dual camera thing and all the bells and whistles that goes along with it, but the software and the interface and the way that it works on the Pixel is just so good. Now, of course, this has the notch display on it, which they patented that. I mean, not patented, but they started the trend. And then, of course, there's no 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, so that's another downside that I've noticed. The Wi-Fi is good, and the Wi-Fi has, I believe, has MIMO in it, so the Wi-Fi is super fast, but the actual cell phone antenna is not very, I'm not saying it's not very good, but it's not as good as it should be for an $1,100 phone. I'm used, even on my BlackBerry Key 2 before I sold it, using my Note 9, the LG G7, they all have superior antennas, and of course, I believe that boils down to the Intel chipset. Apple likes to use the Intel chipset for their modem, and it's not very good. It's definitely inferior in speed and in connection to the Qualcomm's. So you have that. But I mean, if you live in any built up or urban area, and of course this one has band 71 to 600 megahertz spectrum for T-Mobile. So if you have that in your area, that probably works really good. Otherwise, I mean, it's solid, it works well, but if you're in some hard to reach places, this is going to be even harder to reach than its Android equivalents. So overall, I do like the improvements, the interface, everything. The iPhone 10 was nice with what they tried to do to it, but I felt like it was just unrefined. And it seems like really they got everything hammered down and they did a good job with this, and it really is melded to the phone so much better. And that's one of the benefits that you've always got with iPhone. And you wonder why, they have always been able to do more with less. And it's not because their products are inferior. It's not because their hardware is inferior, but their software and their hardware experience is fine-tuned in-house. Everything is made for each other. So whenever you have software that's programmed to exploit the abilities and the hardware architecture, it always works better than the cookie cutter approach, which is, hey, we're going to use this same processor across 5 different phones with different user interface skins over it, like they do with Android. So you don't have to worry about that with this. The phone is really, I've enjoyed it thoroughly. I don't enjoy paying for it, but I do enjoy the phone. Even my wife likes it. Now, if you come from a Samsung phone, you might not like certain aspects of the screen or the camera as much because everything with Samsung is oversaturated. Everyone knows that. Everything with Apple is more realistic looking. And that shows up in the pictures, that shows up in the display, that shows up when you're watching video. So if you like those really vibrant, enriched, super saturated colors, you're probably going to want to stick with like an Android like Samsung, who does that. That's like their MO. And they do it well. And it's really hard to pull away from that. My wife, I was going to get her one of these, and she's like, no, I like the screen and the colors on my S9 Plus too much. So couldn't win my wife over with this one, but she does really like the phone. And of course, the keyboard is so amazing. I love the iPhone keyboard, and that's one of the things that always draws me back. I don't really buy into the whole ecosphere thing because this is the only Apple product I have. Actually, I did get the Apple Watch, so I'll talk about that more later, but that's not for today. The phone overall, I love the experience. I love it. I hate saying all of this because it costs so much and I was so adamantly against it. But if you want an iPhone and you want the large screen, then this is it. And I think you're going to be super happy with the purchase. So that's all that I've got. I am going to post some pictures. I'm going to take some pictures and I'll post them up in my Instagram. I'll have the link down in the drop down section. I haven't taken a whole lot of pictures with it yet. I've been busy at work all week, and down here in Texas, it's still been raining. We finally didn't get rain yesterday or today, but I've been at work. So I'm going to take some pictures. I'll post those up. As always, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down in the drop down section. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time.